Hey, it's 28mm RPG, Rick here. And today we are going to talk about On the Mind's Eye, more stuff about game mastering, because this will be key to learning how to game master properly. Now, there's a lot of guys out there, we have Seth Skorkowski, we have, what's his name from, the, what is it called? How to, lot of how-to game master, stuff that is out there, books, that sort of thing, some videos, the lazy GM and all that stuff. A lot of explanation on how to create your game, how to put it together, but there is no instructions on how to game master. Or at least there's some bad advice out there most of the times, as well as game masters out here that are doing the wrong things, but not realizing that they're doing the wrong things. Now, Shonner is super passionate about the hobby. He wants to have his players, play a certain way, and he plays a certain way. Shonner and I are similar in quite a few aspects, but I do, because of the way that I have my game set up and stuff, I do like to do continuous episodics instead of just an episodic. He's mostly into playing just a one-shot kind of thing, and that's it. Just one session kind of thing, to have a beginning, middle, and end. Where I have mine continuation. So mine can be viewed as somewhat of a campaign, but most of the time I'm trying to keep it so that if I can I can bring in other players, and that's in both fantasy and sci-fi. And my style is slightly different than Shonner's. It's just the way everybody should be slightly different, anyways. Otherwise, you don't. Yeah, I do a bit of voices and stuff like that because I like to do that just to kind of keep my brain in the character that I'm playing as an NPC. And Shonner's more straight ahead. He doesn't. He uses inflection on his voice, but he doesn't do voices. He kind of does with the inflection, but And no, I'm not an actor, and I'm not all that kind of stuff. I don't view myself as the best game master out there, or whatever. I don't believe it should be a competition or anything like that. I just do what I do. And if you're here and you want to learn how I do what I do, stick around, hit the subscribe, just do the subscribe thing and keep in touch, because I have some things to teach you people out there. Now Shonner's kind of like the mean devil side over on one side. I'm going to be trying to be the more angel side, or so to speak. But I think what Shonner says here has a lot of merit. And we were talking on Discord, like shooting messages back and forth. And I'm a subscriber to Dungeon Musings here. So, but the way he game masters is, it's kind of like looking at it this way. It's kind of like he's looking at it as a he's playing in 2D, and Shonner and I are playing in 3D. Meaning, Dungeon Musings, he cannot see that he is doing the wrong things because he has no other. He doesn't have anybody else to show him how to do this the proper way, and he has learned some really, really bad habits, and it's really weird because he's got a lot of people going, yeah, this is the greatest thing ever, yeah, and a lot of back patting on the back and stuff like that. I mean, I have guys on my videos doing the same thing, going, yeah, that was awesome and everything. I truly appreciate that as well. But I have more to learn, and I'm discovering little tidbits and stuff. Like, it's kind of like as you learn this, you're gonna be like, wow, this is awesome, and then you're gonna find yourself like trying to do the things that you need to do in order to become a better game master. But you'll be finding that you've been your brain clicks back to the safe zone, which is what you've been playing the totally the wrong way. I'm gonna say it's the wrong way because we're gonna have to get to this through the philosophy that game mastering and role playing is a skill that you must learn, and if you don't learn the skill, you're just going to become a board gamer, a bunch of board gamers out there, and a game master that just reads text out of a book, and does what basically Dungeon Musings here does in his game. Now, I've watched this entire episode and everything. So we're just going to go through, listen to Shonner, and I will give my input on some of this stuff. Now, the main thing here, we're not trying to be mean to Dungeon Musings. That's not the point here, but we have to use an example in order for people to learn off of. So I've done this with Pierre's video. Actually, it's not his video, but somebody that recorded his session. And I've done it with Pierre, where I've shown that using too much exposition in your gaming, meaning as soon as somebody comes into a new system, you start telling them all about this system and all about, and they haven't even landed on the main planet yet. But as a game master, you're so excited about it, you start spewing out all this stuff about the planet and how the people are and what they do and everyday life and all the things that they enjoy and love, and how they cook, and they have to cook things at a certain temperature, at a certain altitude, and certain things. And they're explaining all this to the players before they even land on the planet. And the problem with that is the players are not exploring. They're not the ones discovering this stuff. They're not discovering it through the gameplay. They're discovering it by exposition. So it's a very meta gaming kind of thing that they're doing. And that's, I mean, if that's the way you want to play it, is your players go to a planet and the GM explains everything about that planet to you before you even land on it, and then asks you if you want to do some trading and stuff, and then you're like, okay, well, we'll trade off our commodities for these commodities, and see if we can make some money. Okay, do a couple of rolls, blah blah blah, and then you make the rolls, and then the game master says, okay, well, looking at the charts here, you get yourself a profit, and you're going to have some more commodities to sell for the next spot that you land on. And to me, that's not role playing. because role playing is having the players interact with NPCs, and you see the conduct between the game master NPC and the players, and things happen, in the middle of their negotiations, as they're talking to each other. One of the guys from the game masters, NPC, one of his co-workers is kind of getting twitchy about the whole situation. He thinks that maybe they're going to get ripped off here by these guys, and he's getting a little bit trigger happy with his finger. Stuff like that, happens. It's like a drug deal gone bad, kind of idea. So you end up with a situation where suddenly the whole deal goes sour, and there's a gunfight or something that goes on. It's excitement. It's something like that you would see in a Tarantino movie. It's just stuff that can occur, that does on occasion. And things go bad, and somebody gets wounded, and they're trying to make their way back to the ship before anybody else gets killed, and there's a big gang after them now, after they see on their side that the deal has gone south. They think the players are like a bunch of gangsters trying to hone in on their territory or whatever. And you just play it out, where there in like Pierre's game, and there's none of that happening. And it's just a really kind of weird playing the game as Excel spreadsheet, and that's not role playing. That's playing a game. Now I come from a background. Okay, I come from a background of when I started playing Traveler. It started off for me as Snapshot. Now, Snapshot is a kind of a miniatures game. So, because back then all the maps were kind of like on a what was that, a 15 millimeter scale. So basically half-inch squares on the ship deck plans and stuff like that. And you would play in Snapshot as a skirmish game. So you would either have a side A versus side B, or you would have the players all playing side A, and side B is basically kind of a random, the monsters going through the vents and stuff like that, and it'd be moving on the map and doing stuff. Or, the boarding party would be basically ran by one of the players as kind of like a game master, and then that game master can also play as one of the players too. And on the side of the ship's crew, trying to avoid a ship boarding or whatever. So that's how I was introduced to Traveler. It was a skirmish game, and then I finally did get the box set of the 3 books, and started learning how to play it as a role-playing game, because the rules are just a little slightly different in the role-playing game. In the Snapshot, you have a lot of charts and stuff like that, so it's played like a miniatures game. And yeah, there's a distinct difference between the two, but you learn different aspects of playing. So to me, it's totally all right to play miniatures games. That's why I'm called 28 millimeter RPG, because I like miniatures, games where you have skirmishes and stuff like that. And I also like role playing, but there's a complete, they're 2 different things, role playing and skirmish games. So when I play a role playing game, I want to play it as a role playing game. And you've seen my early videos, probably. My early videos of Traveler, I'm trying to emulate more of the skirmish game, but I find that it does take a long time to go add those role play elements. So from a certain point onwards, I decide, F this whole skirmish game thing. We are just going to play pure theater of the mind role playing, and we'll get more out of it that way. And my players find, yeah, that they do get a lot more out of it that way. The monsters are scarier. The situations are more tense. You're not looking at it as a bunch of tokens on the map board. Your brain is using your imagination against you. When you're thinking of horrible, terrible things that are happening, bones are crunching, snapping, flesh is tearing. Your brain is coming up with a million pictures in your mind of all the most scariest things that you have ever kind of seen or encountered or watched in movies and stuff like that, and it triggers uh, that sort of thing in your head. Where if you were looking at miniatures, tokens on the board, you're just looking at tokens, and part of the mystery has been stripped away from, because your brain is creating this atmosphere and everything. But with when you're looking at a grid and everything, you've totally toned that down to just stripped it away into just being a visual board game after that. I'm probably going to have to go ahead and divide this into several sections because I haven't even gotten into SHONNERS' video yet. But I'm trying to set up, the reasons why we play a certain way that you are not seeing here on a lot of people's channels. If you want to see more of kind of what we're doing here in different kinds of, conceptions and because not everybody plays the same. Watch RPG is Dumb. Okay, you can watch his stuff. He does the one shots with riffs, and it's like boom, boom, boom. Stuff is happening. People are dying. Players are dying. It's an experience. It's one way to play. And he plays Theater of the Mind. If you watch something like was it Red Moon role playing? You'll see them playing different games, and there'll be more talking and interacting between the players and stuff like that. You're getting kind of like you're learning their backstory as they're playing. By the way that they're having their players portrayed in the game. And you learn stuff as they're going. You're learning, oh, this guy's an investigator, and he does hit. And he's got these kinds of skills as he's playing because you're learning that as they are playing, and not being given a big info dump at the beginning of the game. This is my player. He does this, he does that, and blah blah blah. And he came from this background, and blah blah blah. No, you want to have that naturally brought into the game as you play the game. You don't want to, because when you meet somebody on the street, you don't know everything about them as soon as you lay eyes on them. You get a visual description of what they look like, and you might get some cues, like, oh, they're carrying a weapon, or they've got, or they're not carrying weapons, the way they dress, their clothes could be scruffy, they could be clean, they could be the way that they do their hair, it all looks nice and coif, or they have a big messy do, and you kind of get some hints on what they're going to be like. But until you start talking to them face to face and, inquiring or seeing what they do, you don't know anything about them until they start displaying their skills in physical form. Or in an example, in the role-playing game, as you play the game, they're describing what they're doing, and you're seeing whether or not they are succeeding or not succeeding, and you kind of have a gauge of whether or not how they perform, how their skills line up, and you get an idea of what their profession is and stuff just by the example of the gameplay. So if you're not playing this way, that's totally okay. You can go ahead and play, as a board game. You can play, as Dungeon Musings will be displaying here if you want to. But to me and to Shonner and to many others out there, this is not how you play the game at all. It's what they're playing is something totally different, and that's what he's explaining here. Shonner's explaining here as well. So let's get into this. We're already like 20 minutes in. We may as well make this a half-hour thing each bit. I don't want to overload you too much, but let's stay in here.
The guys are just collateral damage, pretty much. Okay. Okay, he has a knack for inviting people to his games that know nothing about anything. So he has to facilitate. He's a facilitator.
So yeah, you're gonna hear a lot of mechanics being touted here, how to do things in the virtual tabletop, and blah 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 blah.
Of this game session. To people who don't know what they've heard of tabletop role playing, they may have done it once or twice. They're mediocre at best, and they could be all coworkers of his. Who knows? Maybe they met through COVID back in the day. And he's going to be running the 2022 version of Traveler. We shall see. We shall see if we notice that mechanic being used in this session at all. You know, I love it when people say, and we're going to be using the rules from such, and then 2 hours of being in a tavern with no sign of game mechanic. It's like, why bring up the game mechanic if it's not going to rear its ugly head in your game session? Anyway, that's it. They've been chit-chatting about their characters, who they are, what they're about. I don't care about that crap. I'll find out about characters through the player's role play of those characters. If they role play, which I know they're not, but if they did, in theory, if they role play their characters, we would know in a heartbeat what each character is about from their actions. We won't have any actions in this game, I bet you. But there's always hope. Yeah, just go. Come on now, as long as everyone's having fun. Well, to me, that's mediocre. Those are mediocre players that say that kind of nonsense. I want to see elite role play. That's what I'm looking for. Remember, there was a movie called Unbreakable, right? There was a guy. You don't meet him until the end of the movie. I think his name is Mr. Glass. What's Mr. Glass's purpose in life? To find a fucking soul survivor. That's why he's wreaking havoc. Checking the newsreels, the clips, the hospital, what do they call it? The people surviving in hospital, that kind of, he's looking at that stuff. He's looking for a soul survivor. Me, I'm looking for a role player. A fucking role player. How hard can it be? Anyway, this person, right about now is when they start the game. Let's find out who can role play. Or, I already know no one's going to role play, but god damn it. Maybe there's some inkling that there's some. We'll see.
Our campaign will be kicking off about, I'm trying to tell him, Anna, about 3 months after you have taken control of the Rift.
Dude, get an RTX card so your dog isn't heard,
Wanderer, after you've all come together. In the film version of our campaign, we would open up with a shot of this beautiful blue world, almost entirely blue. In fact, you can see there's very little land masses on there. And as is customary for, sci-fi films, we'd see in white lettering that goes across as if it's being typed in a, Apple IIe monitor. Parsec 2824. The Borderland subsector, the Trojan Reach sector. Planet Spurl. S-P-E-R-L-E. Our camera would then pan down to the surface of Spurl. Let me grab your tokens, guys. So you've got yourselves over here. I don't think we're tracking anything on them just yet, but...
Good God, they're not doing a map with tokens, are they?
Now, let me tell you a little bit about Spurl.
Here's where we go. Yeah. So you're seeing how the cool thing about all the technology we have nowadays, and we have these virtual tabletops now, and that's the part of a problem here is everybody wants to use all the features of the virtual tabletop, and that's a huge mistake. It's cool that virtual tabletops give you all these options and everything, but the thing is, for the game master, it's a distraction. Because he has to go up and start clicking things and start, getting things all set up for his presentation. And you can see how this is not flowing in kind of a continuous view of information as he does his initial exposition. He's giving out a lot of unnecessary information. The players don't know what a subsector is or care. They're hearing names, they're hearing all the that we're in this subsector and this blah blah blah, and that doesn't really matter to the players at the moment. And I doubt that these players have any inkling of what he's talking about, what a subsector is, what a sector is, what a they would only care about what a world, what we're seeing right here now. And if they're on a ship, currently on a ship, he should start the scene off as they are on the ship. They see this world before them, and they have just arrived. They have maybe a signal coming from the ground, which is indicating where the airport or starport is, depending on the technology level. And you could describe what they see on the monitors, and that's how I would handle it. Instead, what we're going to be seeing here is he is basically reading out of a book, and he's not actually game mastering. He is facilitating all the instructions in the module, and it's heartbreaking to see this because the guy speaks relatively well, and he's got a good game master voice. Now the problem is his execution is what is flawed here, and that's where game masters are failing here, is in the execution. They can say, yeah, we have, I got a game world with all these options and stuff like that. But if you aren't executing them well, then it's just gonna end up kind of being flat and becoming a stress test for your players. Because if you've got players like say Shonner is a player in here, and he's expecting, all this, we're going to be role-playing, we're going to be doing the things, we're going to be, heroes going from planet to planet, saving the day, or whatever it is that they're going to be doing. And then this is going to happen, and it's going to be basically and I'm going to say, it's going to be a railroad where the Game Master is basically sliding the players along into each kind of location without the players' input saying, yes, we are doing this. The players are just along for the ride, basically, and facilitating die rolling all the way through. So let's go ahead and cut this part, and we will continue on our next video in part 2 of this. So we'll go straight to there.